Genshin and the Suck After Strike. What you need to know. A little bit of a context for this, right? I have actually been quite curious on like what's going on. Even when I was in Japan, I asked this I'm not sure if I can find the screenshot in a little bit. Probably. Okay. Yeah, so I was actually kind of interested about this whole VA situation thing because I think it's quite interesting that almost overnight it went from I hate Hoyo for not signing the contract into oh my god I hate the VAs for like this click thing. So I actually did dig a little bit, dig deep to find out, do a little bit of homework of like what this is about. So essentially, the TLDR for all those who are kind of unaware, Suck Astra is having a strike. All right, they're having a strike, and Hoyoverse doesn't want to sign the Suck Astra treaty. And I think for the longest period of time, people was thinking that it's because of AI. And the Hoyoverse doesn't want to protect the voice actors with AI. And it has been a very, very long time, and every single time it's been, oh my god, if Hoyo just wants to protect the VAs, say no to AI, they should just sign a contract. Then everything will be going very, very smoothly, right? Turns out, I think for the past week or 2 weeks, it has come out to public that because of the brand new VA for Genshin Impact, right? The brand new VA for Genshin Impact, people are like bullying the guy for picking up the job. And this is not really the reason why it blew up. Because now that people started to dig in this whole thing, they realized that it is not really a simple matter of like AI. Because if you want to join Suck Aftra, you need to pay this fee. And let's be real, guys, I think 3,000 USD, and this annual fees and like all these things, they are not really a small amount, right? Hey, I have $20 in my bank account. If you want to pay $3,000 to start a job, nah, I'm good, right? So me personally, I don't think it's any small amount, especially for anybody that want to be VA. And another thing that sort of arised, that rose up, is that eventually non-union VAs cannot participate in a project signed by a union VA. You can only do so by signing this thing called the Taft-Hartley, right? The Taft-Hartley. But the thing is, there's a limit for Taft-Hartley. It's like an exclusion clause. And after a certain limit, you kind of have to join the union. It is like a matter of time before you join. So it's just kind of delaying the inevitable. And the consensus was people want to join union. It is like a good thing to join union. And the amount of money that you will actually spend on joining this VA thing is like a cost. A cost that you have access to more jobs, more networking on everything. But it doesn't really change the narrative that, okay, I have to pay up this amount of money just for me to do a job. Because what happens is if all the companies sign this contract with a union VA studio, they basically sort of like monopolize the space. And non-union VAs, they can't get a job to a certain extent unless they eventually do agree to join the VAs. And it also turns out that Hoyoverse, they did sign a contract with a company that protects against AI protection, which is the one from Zenless Zone 0, right? Which is the one from Zenless Zone 0. So people are starting to find out, right, combining how this whole Suck After thing is working and like all the VAs getting cancelled because they are like, they're trashing on the guy. That is quite literally not even from Japan, by the way. Bro is not even from Japan. Oh, sure, no, he's not even from the US. Bro is literally from Japan, picking up a job that has a vacancy, and he's getting cancelled by the Paimon's and everything. So that is sort of like what I understood so far. Chat, if y'all know more, feel free to just chime in. But we're just gonna watch on this video, Genshin and the Suck After Strike, what you need to know, right? There we go. Hold up. Wait, let me pull up my headphones. We're just gonna have a very cozy, very happy, very chill react, right? Very neutral, peace, love, happiness. While I eat my chicken breast, right? Chicken thighs, very, very good, very, very nice.
So, we've lost our shared humanity over a gotcha game.
Cinema intro.
Okay, guys, it's time we had a talk about Genshin, Hoyo, and the strike because, man, it
sucks out there right now. And before I start, I do want to say a big thank you to everyone who I consulted with while I was writing this script, okay? I talked with union members, I talked with non-union members, talent and fans, etc. My goal here is twofold: educate and de-escalate. So a big thank you to all the people that helped me get grounded and get the facts before getting started. If you haven't seen my original video where I explain the strike itself, I'm gonna go over a little bit of it again here, but you might wanna check that out first before diving into the incredible amount of nuance that I'm about to do.
This is a new video, guys. It just came out 11 hours ago. This was an old video, right? In full transparency, I was low-key hoping to wait for Mujin's video, because Mujin said he's gonna cook up a video about this. Bro is underworking, bro. Where is the Mujin video? Where is the Mujin video, bro?
In this video. First, this video is designed, and I want you to pay attention here, to outline facts. And in any case where I absolutely have to inject my opinion, I've done my best to make it clear that I'm doing so. It's not here to render judgment on studios or casting directors, Hoyo, the fandom, actors, nobody. The reason I'm making this is because I've gotten so many questions, and the internet situation is so weird every day from well-meaning individuals in the community asking for updates on the SAG-AFTRA strike and recasts, etc. Stuff that most actors really don't have any insight on, right? We're just actors. We don't know what Hoyo is thinking, etc., etc. But given that nearly...
There we go. Mod, tell me add the title in front. Right, cool.
Every social media platform has become a powder keg. I'm getting a little tired of seeing our shared humanity deteriorate over a gacha game, okay? The social phenomenon that is Genshin Impact and its follow-on Hoyo games have changed the voice acting industry and fandom in many ways. It's very, very unique. Some ways that I don't think are that great. This is my attempt to bring us back to reality with some facts. If you're looking for more toxicity or someone like spilling the tea, you are absolutely in the wrong place on this video. The other thing that I want to say is that I don't speak for any individual other than myself, even though I did a lot of research and talking with a lot of people to come up with the script for this video. The things I'm presenting here are what I believe to be true based on years of working in this industry, conversations with other actors, agents, directors, studios, etc., etc. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a negotiator, or anyone who has the power to go out and effect change, okay? I'm someone trying to spread understanding in my role as a teacher and an actor in a world full of viral social media posts that are both untrue and inflammatory. And that's what we need now. We need shared understanding, okay? This is my attempt to provide it. First, let's briefly recap the SAG-AFTRA video game strike. The Actors Union is currently on strike, which means its members are not allowed to work for video games only, for a select group of production companies in the effort of bringing formal protections into our contracts regarding our voices being used for the purposes of AI. This means that actors who are a member of the union, SAG-AFTRA, are not allowed to work on those certain struck games from those certain struck companies.
All right, and Paimon's VA can work because she's like disabled, I think, right? Yeah.
Say it again. The strike is for specific union games, for specific union signatories, for actors that are a member of the union. Games that are non-union, meaning that their companies are not signed to union contracts, are by definition not struck. In addition to that, games that started production before the strike are also not struck. It's a very confusing atmosphere, I know, but I can relieve that confusion for Genshin fans specifically by saying this. Do you know what company isn't in that select group of production companies being struck? Hoyo. I cannot emphasize enough that MiHoYo properties are not and never have been union games. Therefore, Genshin has never been a struck property. There are 0 union rules governing Genshin or any MiHoYo game, period. End of story as of this date. This is not a debate. This means, and I want you to listen very carefully, if the SAG-AFTRA strike ended tomorrow, this would mean absolutely nothing for Hoyo Games and its actors. If suddenly WB and Formosa, Keywords, all the rest threw a ticker tape parade and said, "We agree to all the actors' demands, yay!" Nothing would change for Genshin, or Star Rail, or Triple Z, or any other non-union game. So point number 1, please stop talking about Genshin like it has anything to do with the SAG-AFTRA strike. Genshin is not a union game. The actors working on it are not working under a union contract, period. Put a pin in that, okay? Because we're going to come back to the idea of union and non-union actors in a minute, now that we've sort of covered union and non-union games. Okay, so Why the hell aren't actors going in to record lines for Genshin if it's not struck?
Excellent
When
question.
the strike happened, many Genshin actors got together in various disparate channels and decided that now would be a good time to try to engage with Hoyo and encourage them to take some action. Actors could use the momentum, the social momentum of the SAG-AFTRA strike to include Hoyo properties in the conversation. Again though, it's not a strike, and it has nothing to do with the union. Since this is not a strike, I'm not going to call it a strike. From here on, I'm going to call it a collective work refusal, because it's not governed by any one body like SAG-AFTRA. There is no one result desired like a collective bargaining agreement, and there is no penalty for not participating, unlike the SAG-AFTRA strike. If you are a union member and you cross the line and record games you're not supposed to, you can be penalized. In a non-union environment, that doesn't exist. So, what did Genshin actors want? This is where some of the confusion kind of begins. The goal wasn't really totally clear. Some actors wanted them to sign a union agreement and flip union, become a union game. You might have heard this called an interim agreement, which just has to do with an agreement that's going on during a strike, or a full union contract. There's some nuance of difference here. Because Genshin's an ongoing game, they're essentially the same thing. Others wanted them to just add AI protections into their non-union contract. Something like the Nava rider, okay? Which is something that any actor can attach to any contract to legally protect themselves against AI exploitation. And some actors, understandably, didn't really know what to think about the whole thing, but they were motivated by the social side, solidarity, social obligation, community feeling, and they also refused to work. This is part of the problem of non-union games, or non-union anything, actually. Since there's no actual collective bargaining agreement governed by any union, it becomes difficult for a group of people to take a collective action. In social psychology, you call this a collective action problem. It's very complicated. So anytime a group of non-union actors tries to get together to achieve any result, it's hard. It's hard for us to communicate. It's hard for us to bargain. Since there are no rules in place, any actor is free to just disregard that collective effort at any time with no penalty. Unlike, again, an actual strike where you can get fined or kicked out of the union for strike breaking. So, as a result, some actors simply kept working. Some actors stopped working and then went back to work after only a few weeks of refusing to come in. Some actors stuck it out and haven't been recast. Some actors stuck it out and have been recast. Ultimately, the decision to work or not to work has become a very individual and not a collective decision. So you can see how the waters are already very muddy here. Now,
Okay, wait, chat. I want to kind of summarize everything. So, for those of you who are not paying attention, right? You were fucking gooning or like clowning or whatever the hell you're doing, right? You're not paying attention. Hoyo games are a non-union game. Hoyo games are a non-union game. So whatever the hell is going on with SAG-AFTRA and their strike with like all those games, it has nothing to do with Genshin Impact, Honkai Starbucks, or Zenless 0. Zero relation. The strike can end today, next year, never. It has zero impact. Zero Genshin impact on what's going on. But the reason that the VAs choose to not work is not because they are going on strike by SAG-AFTRA. It is because they see that this SAG-AFTRA thing is going on, so they 顺便, right, might as well also go on strike to either let MiHoYo become a union game or offer separate agreements, right, that the Nava thing they mentioned that also offers AI protection to them. So they basically just stopped showing up to work because the other company have people rioting. So it's sort of like in France, right? Because like France, there's a lot of like strikes and everything. It's sort of like if you see like France, there are like workers striking in like the France metros, you know, or the train's not working again, and then you're like a taxi driver. Ah shit, people are rioting again. Of course, like, you know, they don't want to take the train. I'm just not gonna drive. I'm just not gonna go on or drive my taxi because, you know, bad, boo, right? I think that is something that's happening here. So whether or not they went to work or didn't went to work, it had like zero impact in the collective things because they are not even part of the strike in the first place, right? Did I say anything wrong? Anyone smarter than me can tell me, did I say anything wrong? No, Yep, because no one is smarter than me right here. Right? Absolutely, I am him.
Now, let me muddy them further. In January 2025, a new California law, AB 2602, was put into effect. It says that unless there is very specific wording in a contract telling an actor that a digital replica, an AI clone, will be created of them, then it is illegal to do so. That actor must also be professionally represented and not an independent agent. Or the company may not create a digital replica of their work, even if they put it in the contract. So an uneducated actor without an agent can't just accidentally stumble into a contract that steals their voice. Since, to my knowledge, no Hoyo contract specifically says they will make a digital replica using an actor's data, they are therefore, by AB 2602, specifically prohibited from doing so. Therefore, any California actor is now protected from having a digital replica made by Hoyo. This
Okay, they have a global passive that prevents them from getting an AI replacement. Because if Hoyoverse wants to use an AI voice for VA, they need to specify it in the document, right? And then since they didn't specify it, it is by default means that none of them will have an AI voice replacing them. Done.
means that the barrier for returning to work for many California actors has been achieved.
Or
There's
California,
more.
California.
This law, AB 2602, only prevents a company from a one-to-one digital replica. So Hoyo can't take my voice without my permission and make Risley lines. But it doesn't prevent them from using my voice to train models or blending my voice with another person's to create a new and unique voice. This is kind of like a weird, unclear loophole part of the law. I'm actually fairly confident will get clarified over time, but you also have to remember that the whole world is kind of in a legal flail right now, trying to catch up to the technology. As an aside, right? The Nava writer and presumably the union contract would have that added layer of protection about training and blending. But we're not
Okay, so it's like basically buy insurance. This Nava contract is basically an insurance to make sure that in case that gray area happens, it doesn't happen. So that's an insurance.
sure right now on the
That's
union
a global
contract
passive. The
side
Nava
because
contract
it
is a
hasn't been agreed
global
on yet,
passive
hence
for the global
continued
passive.
strike. So we don't know what that final contract will contain. Genshin, being under a union contract, would also award the actors the added intended benefit of having the SAG-AFTRA legal team behind them. If Hoyo or any company decides to disregard the contract and make replicas anyway, it would be up to the individual actor to sue them in a non-union contract. A complicated, expensive thing to do for a single individual, to the point of, honestly, like near impossibility. I'm not gonna go toe-to-toe with Hoyo using my own legal team, which I don't have, but it's much easier for a union with 160,000 members in it to do so on an actor's behalf. Now, the historical effectiveness of SAG-AFTRA's legal team could be called into question here as to whether or not they would do the job or do a good job, but I'm trying to outline the principles here, okay? A union contract would afford an actor the protection if Hoyo or any other game company broke that contract. So, the non-union world has protection via the California law, yes, but not full protection. And if violated, it will be very difficult for a non-union actor to prosecute a billion-dollar company on their own.
Okay, so non-union actors have this partial protection. It protects you against the black and white area, but it doesn't protect you against the gray area unless you've signed the Nava. Nava is like a separate contract from the union, which gives you the protection from the gray area. But even if you were to get that protection, and let's just say you wanted to sue Hoyoverse, you're one guy. You have fun trying to sue the entire billion-dollar company, right? So that's one guy, which is where the union comes in, where it is no longer just one guy. It is like the collective of 160,000 people with their own lawyers and everything, which makes it easier to sue Hoyoverse if anything was to happen. If anything was to happen, on top of the whatever union.
Are you seeing how difficult this situation is yet? How unclear it is for even the people involved? Now, could Hoyo make this situation completely vanish by simply signing a union contract? Yes.
The California law is
absolutely
for
could.
Californians, yeah.
It's a good argument to make. It seems like a flawless argument to make, actually, if you have limited understanding of how union contracts work and what the implications are for the company, financially, legally, procedurally. There's more to this than just pencil whipping a contract, okay? Negotiations take time and patience, and the bigger the company, the longer they take. When you're trying to kind of shoehorn a gigantic foreign company into a discussion about United States labor law, things can get confusing really fast. But it is important to say that yes,
China.
Hoyo could absolutely make all this go away by just signing a union contract. Talks to that effect have been going on for a long time, with ups and downs and starts and stops, but I can't speak to them as to whether or why not Hoyo is going to do it. We can argue.
Okay, so technically it's true that all Hoyoverse, because this was a narrative last time, right? This was a narrative last time before all this exploded. Like last time, it was if Hoyoverse signed the contract, they become a union company, right? They become a union game. And then if they become a union game, they now have access to this additional layer of insurance, this global passive for all of the union actors. And easier for the union actors to like sue Hoyoverse if they were to ever do the AI thingy, right? But then the recent times, in the past 2 or 3 weeks, it has come out that it is no longer just a matter of, okay, sign to protect the VAs from AI stuff. It is now a matter of they want to monopolize the VA market. Because people realize that non-union VAs, they either get theft harshly or they become a union member. And it's eventually they would have to become a union member. And if they do, they have to pay the union the membership. And if they pay the union membership, the union itself, they will make money. So it becomes like whether or not it becomes a monopoly situation. It's not just about AI. Because Hoyo did sign the VA contract with another studio that does offer AI protection. So it's not about suck after anymore.
Argue all day whether or not that would be the right thing to do, right? Or whether or not a corporation has like moral obligation or even a moral sense of duty. That's not this video. But one thing we can't argue about is that it would definitively bring back every single actor that is collectively refusing to work on Hoyo properties right now. It would bring them back instantaneously. While I've said that these things are complicated, and they are, we also have to zoom out and acknowledge the elephant in the room here, okay? Hoyo is not a scrappy indie dev.
A non-profit union can't monopolize anything. That's what monopoly means. But like, it means that they can only hire from union VAs, right? That's how union games work, right? Technically, non-union VAs can't work in a union VA game unless you sign a theft hardly. And then if you sign a theft hardly, it's just like an extension until eventually the non-union VA becomes a union VA anyways. And then you have to pay the union money. This is how it works.
Trying to count pennies to make it by. This is a multi-billion-dollar company operating on a global scale. If any
So the alternative to this is they just don't hire the VAs that are going on strike, right? They replace the VAs with VAs from other countries, such as, for example, Jake, right? He is the VA that replaced got a new voice, but he's not based in US, he's based in Japan, which is why he filled the role. So it's either they let them go or they hire a new guy.
Anyone has the resources, legal muscle, and the infrastructure to navigate a union contract.
Yeah, because Hoyoverse doesn't need to hire a union VA because they're not a union game. They are a non-union game that has the option to hire anyone they want. Essentially.
Now, I said I would avoid speculation in this video, so I won't start throwing around ideas as to why Hoyo hasn't done this yet, other than what I've already said. But I do want to emphasize that this action is absolutely well within their power. Other companies like them in China have signed union agreements in the past. So yes, the paperwork is real, the finances are real, the international complications are real, but let's be honest, resource constraints are not the barrier here. And that's part of what's made this situation so frustrating for so many people. The perception, maybe the reality, I'm not sure, that Hoyo could fix this with just a single signature on a union contract and just hasn't done it, right? That's what's frustrating people. Had Hoyo gone union a year ago, many of the actors working on it would have qualified for their health insurance on Genshin alone, a huge, huge benefit for actors. Yes, big corporations take a long time to make these sort of large decisions, but how long is too long? I can't answer that, and neither can people on Twitter. Let's talk about that decision to go.
Oh my god, Twitter,
and
guys!
how it affects more than
Holy
just Hoyo.
shit!
Let's spin
Twitter,
it around and talk.
my
about
best source of
actors
information,
and try my best to cover all the possibilities here.
Wait, speaking of Twitter, do you guys know that we do have a Twitter community right here? I'm not sure you guys are aware. Yeah, but if you do, can come over here real quick. If I can just bring your attention with this right here. We do have a Twitter gacha village, right? We have the gacha village right here. If you haven't joined our Twitter village right here, it's a very, very healthy village. You know, this is the best source of love, peace, happiness, and information with no information whatsoever. A new gacha village at www.
What happens to actors, both union and non-union, if they do sign an agreement with the union? Contrary to many misinformed Twitter rants, That does not mean that all the non-union actors on the game would get replaced. That's a wildly ignorant claim, and one that's very harmful to progress to spread. The real answer is, as you might expect at this point if you've been paying any attention at all, it depends. It actually has to do with the actor's individual situation, as well as where they live, bizarrely enough. Let me clarify. If the actor lives in a right-to-work state, such as Texas, then nothing happens at all. Right-to-work laws within states specifically prevent a union from stopping people from working if they're not a member of the union. They can continue working on Genshin forever. If the actor does not live in a right-to-work state, now we're getting murky. You might have heard the term Taft-Hartley thrown around.
Yep, there's the one. There's the one. There's the one. There's the one. Yo, chat, log in. That's the one. This is like the one that kind of sparked everything. This is the one where basically, if you're not a union VA, you have to sign this to get this like extension, and then after the extension, you eventually have to be a union VA, right? The narrative, you have to be a union VA to work on union projects. So this is the good one.
And I advise you, really, just don't look too deep into this because it's confusing. It's a piece of labor law that actually has nothing to do with SAG-AFTRA. It was written in 1947 and designed as a path to both protect people from being forced to join unions, but also offer them more flexible ways to join if they want to. For our
only in the US, guys. Only in the US. So the new VA, Jake, he from Japan, he doesn't even give a flying fuck.
purposes, bringing it back to us. Consider a Taft-Hartley like a temporary 60-day union pass to allow someone who is non-union to work on a union job. After that, they're considered a must join. At which point, like the status implies, they must join the union or stop working union jobs. I'll break here for a second and tell you that it is significantly more complicated than that. There are caveats as to when the Taft-Hartley triggers. It's also possible to negotiate an individual waiver with the union and say, look, I'm only ever going to work this one union job. Please don't make me join. I won't do anything else. And they can say yes. There's flexibility here. These, however, are edge cases that are just beyond the scope of this video. This would be a 5-hour video. In the simplest sense, you can do on a Taft-Hartley a very limited amount of union work as a non-union member before you have to join. And that sort of makes perfect sense if you think about it.
Wait, Sarah, congratulations. You're getting cancelled. Hoyo should never sign this and just fire all of union VAs on the strike. And there it is, right? Yo, union VAs, kill this person, Sarah of the Lake. She has been an instigator rat in the community for 10,000 years. Like, kill, absolutely.
The union offers actual tangible benefits, even for a single contract. Reaping those benefits without being a union member and paying your dues is like extending your Netflix free trial indefinitely. At some point, you gotta pay for what you're using. But being able to join the union for some actors can be a really good thing. Getting into the union is a stepping stone in many actors' careers, and it can actually be difficult to qualify for the union because, bizarrely, the only way into the union is if you get Taft-Hartley first and then join. Oh, simple. No, it's not. I don't want to delve too far into union membership here, but it is important to understand and consider why an actor might not want to join the union. The entry fee itself can be steep, depending on where you live. Mine was nearly $4,000 when I joined 10 years ago. So that talent would have to know for certain that we're going to get at least 5 sessions out of Genshin to make up for that loss. That's about how much money you'd make in 5 union video game sessions, depending on the tier that you're in. Again, complicated. Or that actor would have to feel confident enough that they could book.
I was gonna ask, can I just get paid by my Oilers for voicing Singaporean Abin Danheng? Okay, they get paid 5 sessions, right? So that's like $800 per session. You know, I voiced Danheng for like 4 streams. You get what I'm saying? 4 streams, guys. So hey, if it's $800 per session, I did 4 streams, at the end of the day,
other union work to help them bring that number, that entry fee number, back to 0. You do get pension and health benefits, okay? But you only qualify for health benefits if you earn a certain income of union work, around $30,000 a year. You would need to do 30 Genshin sessions to make that.
30K?
You do get pension and health benefits, okay? But You only qualify for health benefits if you earn a certain income of union work, around $30,000.
Oh, you have to earn 30K a year to get the pension and health benefits. You need to earn this amount.
a year. You would need to do 30 Genshin sessions to make that.
What the-
Probably more like 35, which
Holy
makes
shit.
healthcare sort of a moot point for Genshin actors, unless
I don't really
again,
know how many that
you're
is, how long
confident
that is.
you're going to get other union work. You can also break up that entrance fee into a payment plan. So it's not like you can just get like a $4,000 bill, but it's still $4,000 you might not want to spend. Here's another big one that's become a very hot button issue in the last 8 months. Joining the union also technically prohibits an actor from doing any non-union work, which statistically
This is the one that they made the argument for whether it will monopolize the industry, right? Because eventually, if they do sign to be a union game, you can't do non-union games because you are a union actor, which is why they said that there was zero impact for Genshin Impact and the VAs in Genshin Impact because they were not struck in the first place. So it doesn't matter if they worked or didn't work because they were not part of the thing. Like Genshin Impact and like Zenless, they were all not part of the thing. But this wouldn't be the case anymore if they actually were part of the thing. And if they were part of the thing, then all the union people, they basically can't do anything.
comprises nearly 80% of all voiceover work available. We call this rule Global Rule 1. So you might have heard that terminology before.
Global rule!
You cannot work non-union
Holy
jobs.
shit!
Period.
Global
Yes.
rule.
So now I'm going to start dividing the room here in this video. I'm going to piss some people off because even if you're a little bit of a detective, you have to be asking this question so far. If you're in the union and you're in Genshin, are you breaking the rules?
Oh, shit.
The answer is, you guessed it, you've been paying attention, it depends. But yes, probably you are breaking the rules.
Oh,
the it
shit.
depends part is a caveat in union membership called the financial core or FI core status.
Okay, so Genshin Impact is not a union game. But if Genshin Impact hires union VAs, they are breaking the rules. Not because of the strike or whatever, but it's just because they are not allowed to work on non-union games.
Which is a complicated legal caveat I don't want to get into here. But if you're FI core, you can legally work non-union jobs as a union member without being penalized. You do lose some surrogate benefits, like the ability to vote in union elections, be on any board or committee in the union, attend union functions, go to union classes, etc. But you do retain health and pension benefits. I say this here because I get that question a lot specifically about health and pension. There used to be a large...
Okay, I feel like the health and pension thing is like a lot more important than what I think it is because it's the fucking American healthcare, guys. Am I getting cancelled? No, right? Nobody likes American healthcare. So I can't really relate how important like healthcare is, but yeah.
social stigma associated with being FI core. For example, the SAG-AFTRA official website still calls them scabs. It's a little strange. But
I
as
don't
the
know what it
landscape has changed over the last 20 years, particularly in voice acting, it's not quite the reality anymore. Again, 80% of the work out there for voice actors is non-union. However, if you're a full union member and you work a non-union job, and someone reports you, and the union decides to take action, you could get in trouble for breaking Global Rule 1. You could get fined, or you could get kicked out of the union, or you could just get a nasty letter in the mail. It kind of depends. So for a Genshin actor, to avoid that, you could theoretically join the union, if you're a must-join after working for over 60 days on a Taft-Hartley, and then immediately go FI core. You're never actually forced into being a full member of the union. You do, in fact, have options. But the landscape is complicated. The truth of it is, though, that many union actors do take that calculated risk without going FI core because they need to work to live and take that.
Okay, so this thing has been... Okay, so it's basically like jaywalking then. Okay, like jaywalking is technically a crime, right? Like littering is a crime, right? It's technically not allowed. But everyone just does it anyways. You're not supposed to download music, but everyone just does it anyways. Not me though. I never break crime, but like so this has been going on for like a very long time, essentially.
That calculated risk without going FI core because they need to work to live. And again, 80% of the work for voice actors is not union.
Spotify
There
Premium.
are droves of union actors on the Genshin, Triple Z, and Star Rail cast, and many other incredibly popular games that are doing this. Union voice actors, now on-camera actors has a little bit of a different culture that makes zero sense for me to go into here. Union voice actors work non-union jobs fairly often. We also call this working off the card.
Okay, so it's like a practice thing in the industry. Even if they were union VAs, they will work in non-union jobs because it's a thing that everyone does. Because 80% of the work they are all non-unions, so it's just like a thing, and people will just do it anyways, even if it's like not really right. They just do it.
And historically have not.
You wouldn't download a movie. You wouldn't download a car. You wouldn't download this app. You know that advertisement? Like you wouldn't, you know?
Gotten in trouble for it. I have several ideas about why, but again, I'm really trying hard to stick to facts and not speculation here. This isn't something you could definitively, deduce. But during a video game strike, the union might take the opportunity to send a message to a bunch of union actors working off card on really popular non-union games to make a point. And that brings me to the real tricky part. The social side of things.
Twitter.
Rules and regulations are one
Always
thing,
Twitter.
but industry perceptions and relationships are something completely different. I want you to understand that I'm not getting to this here because this is not measurable. It is a feeling. It is actually part of the problem in a lot of ways. So when we start asking questions like, well,
Okay, wait, pause.
it is
Respectfully, no one here uses Facebook unless you're like 40, right? So that's out of the way. Only Gen Z's chat use Reddit, so that's out of the way. I haven't really seen this much discussion bring up on YouTube for like this whole VA thing, so that's also out of the way. TikTok, unless you're like, okay, chat, who uses TikTok here? And there it is, right? So I would say it's probably
is actually part of the problem in a lot of ways. So when we start asking questions like, well, why doesn't everyone just go FICOR? Or are people being blacklisted for working on non-union games during the strike? These really deal with non-measurable social feelings that can be very powerful, yes, but fall outside the bounds of what I'm trying to do here with this video, which is give as much factual clarity as I can. There are absolutely subjective social effects for doing things like being FICOR, working off the card, not participating in a collective work refusal like what's going on with.
if you were to jaywalk in public and Twitter catches you, ooh, this guy is very, very bad for jaywalking. Oh, this guy downloaded like fucking the Shrek movie the other day. That's very, very bad. But people just do it anyways. Not me though, not me.
With Genshin right now. There are also subjective social effects for doing things like reporting other actors who are breaking global
Oh my
rule
god,
one,
being a
or some-
Sarah is, oh my god, you can be a Sarah in this industry. Holy shit, you can report others. That's crazy, man.
see as snitching, or getting involved in online arguments that explode in publicity firestorms. But since I can't define those, I really don't feel like they have a place in this video.
Yeah, how do
Anyone
you
who
define
says they have the
snitch?
facts on social repercussions during a time like this is certainly definitively incorrect, because there is no such thing. But I bring it up here to let you know that actors, and I say actors here specifically because it's hard to define like a company's social influence.
Okay, so technically, like what the Paimon VA did and like all the Genshin VA, technically them like bullying Jake is technically not law breaking, right? Like there's no law against bullying. It's just a bad look, but technically there's like no law there. Technically speaking, right? Technically you're not breaking the law for being a dick. Right? Hey, do you guys know that there's no law against cheating? You could cheat on Firefly, and there's like no law that can stop you from doing that, by the way. No law.
Actors are being influenced in their individual decisions by these social factors as well, which are very undefinable. These are questions like, if I work on Genshin during the strike, even though I'm FICOR and it's totally legal, will other actors shame me? Or, if I refuse to work and then get recast, what happens to my career? Genshin is my only big project right now, and I'm not confident in my ability to get more work. Actors have to deal with the rumor mill just like anyone else. And it unfortunately plays a part, sometimes a large part, in everything we do. When we also run the risk of things like death threats and harassment online, it makes it even more difficult for us to make clear decisions, speak our minds, or even engage in intelligent, curious discourse with our peers or fans. I can't tell you how many of my colleagues talk about this issue behind closed doors, and only behind closed doors, because out in the open, it is just a toxic mess right now. So even if you think you understand what I've said so far about contracts and union membership and the strike, California law, and all of that, there's still the very unmeasurable and very powerful social element to consider. All of the above goes into the single decision of an actor to work or not work on not just Genshin, but many, many projects. I hope you're understanding how complicated this situation is. We're dealing with laws in multiple states, multiple countries. We're dealing with the union. We're dealing with non-union independent contracts. We're dealing with fragmented AI protections, some of which are full, some of which are not. And worst of all, we're dealing with an insanely popular game with a very enthusiastic base of both actors and fans who are consistently, but not necessarily intentionally, injecting misinformation into this massive, depressing, toxic gristmill that we call social media. Protected by the anonymity of a profile pic of a cucumber with sunglasses or whatever, people then feel free to take small nuggets of truth, wrap them in a giant cocoon of opinion, then set them on fire and toss them around with a lot of vitriolic language behind them. Because it gets the clicks. And we're all more concerned with dunking on each other than learning about
It's
each
about
other.
getting the
In
booms.
some ways, this
It's
is
about
a very
getting the
human
dubs.
reaction. We don't want to operate
Big
in a
booms
gray
and big
area. We
dubs.
want things to be simple and clean. We want good guys and bad guys. Will Hoyo go union? Will they add additional AI protections into non-union contracts instead? Will they simply recast everyone who's refusing to come in? I don't know.
That's
I'm
Sarah's
not part of
suggestion.
these conversations. And to be very frank, almost everyone who I talked to who said they definitely know about those conversations going on have given me conflicting information, which means that again, lots of people are saying they know when in fact they don't.
Okay, pause. Like, there's just no world they would. I'm saying there's no world where MiHoYo would just say, okay, let's just be union. Because there are countries other than United States, guys. Oh my god, USA is not the only country in the world that speaks English. Oh my god, that's crazy, right? USA is not the only country. Wow. That's crazy, Chad.
And again,
There's just
if
no
the
world they would do it.
people
That's
on
something
the
they would
front
do it.
lines in this industry don't have all the information, Reddit probably doesn't either. What we do know is that nothing has changed for Hoyo contractually yet. And they have, in fact, recast actors who have refused to come in. They waited a while with their character silent before doing that.
Okay, like for example, right, if you're basically like working for this company, and then you see your friends that are going on strike for another company, and then you're like, okay, shit, I might as well go on strike in my own company, since they are going on strike. Let me just strike my own, and then you get a Pikachu short face when you get fired. You guys, I feel like that's like the vibes that I'm getting.
What they're waiting for, I'm not totally sure. We do know that Chinese companies tend to not bend to the will of the masses. They don't respond well to mob rule on social media. But we also know that other large Chinese developers have signed union contracts with no problem. Should they protect their actors from AI exploitation? Yes, absolutely. No one will argue that. It's a difficult claim to make.
Wait, why did the Lycon VA even leave though? Didn't they sign with Zenless Zone Zero, the studio that already offered AI protection? They did, right? So why did Lycon even went on strike? He was already protected. Oh, it's the show's solidarity. So it's basically the social aspect, like he mentioned, right? It's the social aspect. It's about standing up with your other colleagues that are going on strike. So even though bro was already protected by his VA studio, he just didn't go. Anyways, is that how it works? He never shows up. Scheduling issue. He just never shows up. Bro just dipped. Bro just goes AFK. I see. Interesting.
Shouldn't have agency over their likeness. But will Hoyo do it without some sort of intervention law, like California AB 2602, to do it for them? I'm not sure. Will a collective work refusal push them to do it? Evidence right now is not saying so, no, but that could change. I'm not sure. I don't have a crystal ball on this. Will Hoyo fill those roles that it's recasting? We're seeing now that they likely will. They have in the past. They may continue to do so in the future. So actors need to decide individually what they're going to do with all of this data. As you can see, it's not easy. I'm trying very hard here not to comment on specific subsets of this issue about what's going on literally right now with individual people, because a semantic argument really helps nobody at this point. But I will say this. If you're finding yourself on an extreme side of this issue, one way or another, it's probably time to admit to yourself that it's because you don't have all the information. Because once you do have all the information, it's very hard to play this as black and white as social media wants us to play it. If I've done nothing else in this video, what I hope I've done is show you just how confusing this landscape is and how collective action problems can be very difficult to solve. Even when a collective bargaining organization is involved, like the union, you can see that since we're still 8 months into this strike, and we've had so many strikes over the last 10 years, it's still extremely difficult to solve this kind of problem. So, when you take a collective bargaining official organization out of the equation in the non-union world, and then make it up to a bunch of individual actors from wildly different walks of life, economic statuses, and personal opinions to try to chart a collective path forward, it gets even worse. So when you see
Well, I just realized it will just never end though. Because Genshin, Hoyoverse isn't even getting striked. It's like all these other companies that are getting striked. Right? It's all these other companies that are getting striked. So even if they want it to end faster, you will need every other company to sign the agreement. And even if they do sign an agreement, it doesn't mean that Hoyoverse will sign an agreement themselves. So it will just never end. The strike will just go on forever. It will literally just go on like for that. It doesn't even matter.
Making individual
Like,
decisions.
not matter, but like, how would it end? Because there was nothing to start in the first place. Because the strike wasn't against Hoyoverse, right? So at what point would it actually end? You get what I'm saying?
Remember that they're individuals. No one is the villain in their own story. But you might be the villain in somebody else's. With the exception of my several rants about the danger of social media toxicity and mob rule in this video, something I feel very passionate about on the side, I also hope I have achieved my understanding.
How did this video...
You might have come here looking for the right answer.
It's like almost
and I've just spent
20%
a fair amount of
dislike,
time telling you that there might not be one. I'm not here to give you a best path forward. Other than that, I know that the toxic online discourse needs to stop immediately. And we need to spend a lot more time listening than talking. But on the bright side, this nebulous area is where we tend to thrive and make great progress as a society. We excel at taking imperfect circumstances and making the best of them, but only if we communicate, get educated, and engage each other with respect and understanding.
Dude, this is like the most peace, love, happiness video I've seen in my entire life, bro. He's doing nothing but spitting facts and like bringing like information people don't know. How did this video get like... This is like 20%, right? 700 out of 4.2k is like... Wait, is that more than 20% though? 6742
MrPokke.
Oh my god, Lumi Venom, thanks for the $20 super chat.
Star
I think
Wars.
China already had laws against. Yeah, I don't read Chinese, so I can't find proof or against it. Can our streamer find a proof? I have no idea I have no idea what's the law against air protection in China. I don't live in China, but like the thing is, it's not just a matter of AI, because if it's just about AI, then Hoyoverse wouldn't have signed with the Zenless Zone Zero Studio, because Zenless Zone Zero Studios already offer AI protection, and it's not about whether or not it's like covered by the company essentially. But like yeah, wait, it's like more than a 20% dislike ratio for a guy that just like saying facts. He was neutral, so the dislikes. Dislike triple Z. He was being neutral. Okay, wait. Let's take a look here. Pretty I feel like this is a very, very interesting that is kind of going on. My global one rule: don't bully on Twitter. Then just don't use Twitter, bro. Union voice editors are bullying a non-union voice for getting work on a non-union game which isn't being striped by a union, and a non-union project that voice they shouldn't be working on. So it's okay for the union voice, it's still non-union work, but a non-union voice. This is ridiculous. Absolutely. Okay, this might be the reason. This video doesn't address one of the most important concerns of the community. What about international ENVA? If Hoyo goes union, can those actors work freely on the game without having to worry about a US-based union? Can Hoyo freely hire non-US ENVAs? A US union should not monopolize overseas. I think that's very fair. Like, whether or not they are under this US union thing, I don't think they have jurisdiction against like overseas, right? They only cover American VA. At least one union actor is fine. Overwatch is union, and several VAs are based on other countries that are not based on union. So as long as they're not from the US, it doesn't matter to you. Is that it? Like, they don't even need the Taft Hartley or like the trial period or anything. They can just work because they're not from the US. Ding, ding, ding. Yo, Ruba. Thanks for the 17 years.
Why do you have so many Hell's Kitchen recommended?
Bro, I love Hell's Kitchen. I literally watch that shit like almost every other day when I was like, eating dinner. Yeah. You have to respect the laws of your employee and contract. And they don't have the global debuff. US VAs can bully them. Yeah, then whether or not... Okay, I think they bullied the JP guy because he didn't stand with them, is what I'm getting at. Because even though the JP guy has the right to work it, because he's literally not from the US, he can work as he please, because he's like, you know, he has his own freedom to work, right? Like, it's a free world, right? But it's like, if he fills the role of the VA that is currently on strike, it weakens. I think this is where the social aspect comes in, right? It's very, very not black and white, because it weakens the bargaining power of those that are actually on strike. It's like if you go on a strike yourself, like I like to use the company analogy. So you're working on your company, and then your friends are going on strike on the other company. You decide to join your friends to go on strike as well, which does nothing to do with the actual strike itself, because your company is not getting strike, right? So in your absence, another guy from overseas come over and takes your job. Then now your friends are upset for you because your job got taken by the overseas guy because you went on strike, and the company decided, okay, you know what, bye bye. I think that is like the way to put it, because it reduces the impact. So why would a company be willing to sign any contracts if they can just hire outside? And because some guy from outside is willing to get hired, they have this weakening of bargaining. Right? They can't bargain as much anymore because, oh shit, they can just hire VAs from outside. And then like, why would they ever sign it? It weakens the position. So yeah. Blah 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 blah. So TLDR US doesn't really matter if you're not US. And Genshin is not stuff, so even US non-union can work. Other VAs. Okay, so for now USA non-union can work Genshin Impact. Even US, because they are not a union game. But if Genshin becomes a union game, then US can't anymore. But overseas still can, right? As long as you're overseas, you can still work the rule. So yeah. Interesting. This appears to be a very US-centric take on the situation. The way you talk about unions and work law completely ignores this is not how unions operate in very developed countries. For example, in the EU, closed shop policies barring non-union workers from working on union projects are illegal. As such, the interim agreement can be seen as archaic by international standards. Okay, this is a US issue. Okay. I could have been American myself. Absolutely. Interesting. It depends. Non-union VAs have the right to work. States like Texas, or the right to work. So specific states gives you the right to work. This is crazy. Carlota is looking like she's gonna come, bro. I think part of the problem is that people have been asking so many questions that don't get satisfactory answers. Keqing Paimon have done a lot of misinformation as well, and speak half truths and misinformation. Furthermore, with condescending tweet from blah blah blah, the union representatives are simply doing a terrible job with PR. Okay, yeah, I feel like this whole thing is like a PR disaster, right? It doesn't really have anything to do with the strike, because again, Genshin Impact is not getting striked. It's just that the VAs that are saying these statements is not making it a good look. It's not making a good look. Why don't you talk about the interim agreement clauses? Oh, holy shit! Clause 6 about union security. Demand project partner to only hire union members. The interim project restricts MiHoYo to hire VAs outside of US or non-SEC VAs. They had to ask SEC permission as per Tefali. It's up to SAG to approve. Is that fair to you? It's literally closed shop where SEC Aftra have monopoly over all MiHoYo projects. Every union worker outside of US will laugh at SEC Aftra if they read the clause. SEC Aftra is not fighting for VAs, they are fighting for market exclusivity, like every Hollywood guild out there. So fuck the mother jibai. Ooh, okay, Sarah, what do you say? Why is Sarah the holy shit? Here is a top tier great American health plan in Texas, so you can get an idea of how it looks like. Wait. I pay $500 a month. And then I need to pay more. I pay $500 a month to pay $9,000. So this is the maximum that I can pay in the American healthcare market. So in 1 year, I spent like what? 6,000 USD just to still pay. What? Ooh, that's kind of crazy, guys. Why not just go polyclinic? Yeah, exactly. Right. Just come to Singapore, guys. I think Singapore healthcare is honestly pretty bussin'. But yeah, that's great. Okay, but that's beside the point, though. That's beside the point. I'm gonna be real. As someone who lives in a country with real unions, the setup just seems like a joke, and they are mocking unions from other part of the world and saying, "Look, we have unions too," while dressing like clowns. It seems like corporation extreme individually we are supposed to work in environment. Anyone? Okay, you guys need help. I'm gonna be honest. The only reason the fans have turned so sharply against the VA is because how they added on Twitter. But they aren't going to just know. It's not besides the point. It is one of the biggest reasons people join unions to go such lengths to punish scabs. Wait, what exactly is scab again? Union scab. you don't join a union. Oh, so it's like someone that doesn't believe in the union's clause. So it's like if a union is going on strike, a scab is someone that still goes to work. Is that how it is? Is that how it is? Yeah, so it reduces your bargaining power. Because if you're still going to work, then what are the rest of people going for strike for? Interesting. If you were the company had the option to get an AI voice for free, would you not do it? Is it really free? I'm pretty sure you have to pay like if it's like a proper company with like proper VAs, I think they have to pay a fee or something, right? Okay, but like the whole AI thing is like it's not really like how this thing is turning out anymore. It's no longer about AI. And okay, I feel like the whole artists, voice actors, whether or not they will get replaced by AI. It sounds a little bit grim, but I think it's just like a matter of time, man. It's kind of like, back in the old days where like horses were a thing and then cars happened. How do you even stop this from happening?
07.
Like all the people last time in like the 18th, 17th century, they drive around horses, right? You drive people around in horses and then cars happened. You either learn to drive a car or you don't drive people anymore, right? It's a very 现实的 society, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you can't stop technological progress, man. I don't really know how to stop it, essentially. Is this true or misinformation? Holy shit, Keqing.
Turning to drop Genshin Impact if Hoyoverse does not recast the SAG-AFTRA VAs were on strike. So SAG-AFTRA tweeted a post urging MiHoYo to sign the infamous agreement. Funnily enough, the tweet got community noted, stating that this agreement has severe limitations on how MiHoYo can work with non-union VAs. Anyways, the protest happened because the CN players felt insulted.
Oh my god, they literally called them a gang. Hey bang. Like the triads, the mafia, the goons. Okay, I feel like these are, to be fair, they are one guy comments though. Look at that. It's like 0 upvotes. So they are basically one guy comments.
Believing that Americans
It is one guy
are bullying a Chinese company, and that Westerners, specifically the unions, are shameless and greedy, even calling SAG-AFTRA mafia. MiHoYo is more likely to listen to the Chinese communities, so all of the VAs who are on strike might actually be recasted, especially since the CN player base are actually pretty invested about this issue. The anger of the Chinese players was further ignited from Redditors that asked for help, as they felt that they got silenced by Reddit, which is why they invited the EN Redditors to discuss this issue further on Xiaohongshu. The Chinese player base.
Damn, I have no idea whether this is true or not true, because I don't really keep up with this kind of stuff, right? So, yep. Look at this after this video. The Industrial Revolution. Yeah, exactly. Paimon VA says, oh my goodness. Okay, hold up. They were forced into joining the union in 2022. I'm got nuclear drama.
So when you did get to LA, how did you get into SAG?
I was forced into it. My first on-camera thing was.
Why does it keep muting, bro? Okay.
My first like on-camera thing was Aquila and the Bee, where I had a few lines, and then
bro just mogging. Bro just mogging, bro.
actually, at that time, I was flying back and forth from Seattle to LA, and then I actually booked a movie in Seattle. And while I was on set for that movie was when I was what's called a must join, because it's when you work within SAG at some point, like the first job you have in SAG, you're SAG eligible at that point. And I didn't join right away because it's really expensive. And then I booked that movie, and then because I worked a certain amount of hours, you have to work a certain amount of hours in SAG, and then you become what's called a must join, and you have to join to be able to work on SAG projects again, and I was in the middle of the movie, so I had to join to keep working on that movie.
Alright. Ooh. Okay, so they were forced into joining. Shit, that about to go, bro. Okay, so I guess people are not liking this video because he didn't touch on topics that would make the union look back, because the VA is from a union, right? Hoyoverse has signed with many anti-AI agency. Main point of After is sold for 8 times. Is no longer true. Hoyoverse is based in China. Singapore mentioned, which has heavy regulations in terms of AI. This means that the entire argument for anti-AI doesn't affect Hoyoverse in the slightest, so surely Hoyo would have signed it in the heartbeat to solve it, right? That's where most people are wrong. The reason why Hoyoverse hasn't signed with South Aftra conditions are extremely disadvantageous for non-union VAs. You point out that theft hardly can be renegotiated, for most VAs, they would not have an excuse to prevent them from joining. The cost of entry is especially concerning for most VAs. Most VAs in America, a few voice acting gigs will be enough to cover the cost, but for VAs in... Oh! Right, there's the whole currency thing, right? Alright, because you get paid in your country's currency. So if you're like a USA guy, you get paid in your US currency, right? And then if you force like overseas people to join your US union, but they get paid in their local currency, oh, that would be so fucking cooked. Oh, that would be hella cooked, man. For Asian countries, it will take months to gather all the money rather than a few voice acting gigs. For most VA, paying that much money is simply unfeasible, so most non-American VA will leave. This will result in hundreds of empty positions, which SAG-AFTRA can monopolize because they can fill all of the positions with SAG-AFTRA. Oh my god. Oh my goodness, the horrors. Monopolizing all of the Hoyo games and gaining major influence in the gacha community. 5.4 thousand SGD. Nah, I'm good, bro. There's also an issue with SAG-AFTRA currently partnered with Ito Vox, which is a company that's trying to revolutionize AI voice. What? Oh, this one I don't know if there's proof, but like that's quite funny. I'm not sure you're trying to be as unbiased, but the way you cover the information, interesting. Okay, so if MiHoYo signs SAG-AFTRA and they become a union game by their SAG-AFTRA terms, even non-Americans would have to join because it's now a union game. It is a SAG-AFTRA union game. Ooh, yeah, that sounds a little bit crazy, man. These voice actors are SAG-AFTRA. Oh man, I think people don't really like this video because like bro is from the actual organizations, right? Oh, okay. I guess there were some points that like now that they brought it up, it's like it might not be fully neutral. Interesting. Oh god, I'm sorry for the Gordon Ramsay stuff, guys, but like I really love Gordon Ramsay so much. Oh, okay, interesting. All right, so that is I mean, it's not that bad. It did bring up some like pretty useful information, like the Californian laws and the Navas and everything, and what will happen. Absolutely. Does anyone else have a better one, a shorter one? Otherwise, we'll just wrap it up, and I want to wait for Mujin, because Mujin said that he's gonna cook up a video about this, right? Which honestly, I think is like, how is he gonna cook it up? Because Mujin is not a VA, right? He's not a VA, so like, if Mergin Hero Hey. Shocking news from Japan. Holy shit, that changes. Oh my god. Okay, which one do we watch? I'm not watching everything, guys. Check this. This is Twitter, bro. Current status. There are so many. Wait, currently silent means what? Wait, that they are not voicing? Silent means they are no longer voicing, yeah? They are not voiced. Oh my goodness. that is quite a lot, man. 1.4 million views. Holy shit. Playing muted is crazy. Wait, let me see. So, the MCs, Jean, Amber, Noel, Barbara, Huan Official, Akea, I forgot this guy, Burnett, Nilan, Beto, Official, this guy, Chichi, Venti, Klee, this guy, Keqing, Guitar Girl, Ganyu, Xiao, Hu Tao, Rosaria, this girl, Kazuha, Armpits, Kujo Sara, Ayaka, Toma, Ito, Garu, Shen He, the opera singer girl, Kamisato, Yelan, Akali, I don't know who this is, the fanboy, Coley, Scam, I don't know what this is, Nilo. Oh my god, Cassante is not voiced? Cassante is not voiced. Ah, that's so sad, man. Cassante, Jellyfish Girl, Hasune Miku, Alhadium, Girl, Dea, Guy, Cat Girl, Pom Pom, Navia, Caitlin, Xian Yun, the gaming, Articuno, Chlorine, I forgot Shadwani, Lisa, Mona, I don't know what this guy is, Alhadium, this guy, Rurosity, and Potion Girl, right? Absolutely. So that is gonna be the entirety of the Genshin Impact cards. They are currently silent as well as unknown. Absolutely, right? Absolutely. Okay, we get into the clip. I thought that was crazy. How can we get into the clip? Thank you. All right, how we get into the clip, right? Naming all Genshin characters. Absolutely. Okay, I'm about to do the first one, right? This is recast. It's gonna be Silver Wolf, Razor, Goba Certified, Yelan, Ayaka, Girl, Raiden Shogun, Yai Miko, Jingyuan, Wanderer, Baizi, Magician, Nervulet, Farina, Scissors, oh my god, what's the name again? Fuck, the Beyblade, Moalani, Silonen, Auroron, Chaska, Baba, Mavueka, Hasune, Varesa, and Yansan, right? Absolutely. All right, cool. Okay, so that's gonna be naming every single Genshin Impact character. Absolutely, all right, absolutely, very, very good. All right. Okay, chat. We'll watch one Hero Hey video.
Thank you for joining me once again. It has now been a week of straight coverage regarding the
Oh
situation
my god, it's
that
Marvel
seems like
Rivals.
keeps ongoing. And if you're not familiar with this situation, I've got an entire playlist dedicated to what's been going on. So
Holy
please consider
shit.
watching some or all those
Chat,
videos.
for 100 subs,
I
I'll
will have
watch
it
them all.
linked in the description
For
for
100
you.
subs,
And
I'll
a
watch
really
them
quick
all.
side
We'll
note,
see
you
if
can
anyone
the
wants to
first
take it.
video that
100
kicked
subs,
us
I'll
all
watch
off was
everything.
actually 3
Right now,
weeks
right now.
ago. Gotta admit,
Right
as
now.
bad as things looked 3 weeks ago, I didn't think they would proliferate to this level. Crazy stuff.
Crazy.
But now, assuming everyone is familiar with what's going on here, we've got an update from voice actress Kaylee Mills, who has
Holy shit.
made a number of statements that has gotten her in the news time and time again throughout the last week. And here
Okay,
I was
10
for a
subs
second
to
thinking
skip.
I might actually have a completely different topic to talk about today regarding Hero Aka. There is something regarding Hero Aka that I still do want to talk
Marvel
about,
Rivals
but
did
then
Subway
this
Surfer. That's
happened.
crazy, man.
You see, it looks like Kaylee Mills has actually deleted her entire Twitter account.
Oh,
Indeed,
shit.
if you do go over to that account, it says this account does not exist.
Damn,
Who
that's
knows
crazy.
if this is a temporary action or something
Minus
that she
1 VA.
plans on permanently maintaining. As we
Oh
backlash.
my god, Baga player, thank you so much for the 10 gift. Okay, unfortunately, MrPokke clips, Baga player doesn't want us to continue. Yeah, so see you guys on the clip channel. The Genshin VA situation explained.